Hi, it's Jane. Oh, you never know what you're going to get here on this channel. Um, did want to show you a couple things I did manage to get finished. That being the sleeves. I have finished the sleeves. Not the sleeves. These are the front panels for the sweater that I'm doing. I have started the sleeves. So this is how much I've gotten done of the sleeves. And the odd thing is, these sleeves start from the top and go down to the bottom, instead of starting at the bottom and going up. Which that feels a little odd to me, but alright, whatever. And you do your decreases until you get down to a certain amount of stitches. Then you knit stockinette, and then at the very bottom, then you do the ribbing, which I guess will be okay. It's just a little different. Never done it that way before. Normally I've done the bottom first, the ribbing first. Then knit your way up, and then you get to the point where you start increasing or decreasing for sleeves, depending on the type of sleeve. But okay, I'm alright with that. I managed to get a hacky sack made. That was about it. The only other thing that I've done is I've done a couple of hair scrunchies or wristlets, whatever you want to call it. Using up some yarn, that kind of thing. This one was one of those. It was a scrap cake, so I finished off that scrap cake. Have to weave in the ends, and then I'll put these in the totes. Of course, I have to keep them from the cats because they think they are their toys. They keep stealing them, so I have to protect them from the kitty cats. That is basically all that I've done that way. A lot of what I have been doing is cutting out backpacks. Part of my goal for this year for Operation Christmas Child is to take a lot of those fabrics that I received from the fire hall, turn them into backpacks that can be given out into boxes. So I'm doing a lot of cutting of that, and cutting some other bags to sew for the season. Christmas themed, some other different bags, those kind of things. And people don't realize, it takes a lot of time cutting out that. You're cutting out your outer lining, your inner lining. If you use interfacing, you're cutting out interfacing. Then you're adhering the interfacing to the outer part of the bag, and all of that is a time thing. I can literally cut all day and just get the outer fabrics and the inner fabrics cut, and then have to cut the next day and adhere the next day the interfacings when I'm using those. The backpacks, the interfacing is the other material. They don't have an interfacing on them. And I could put interfacing on them, but I don't know that I will. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I do have another hedgehog started, and it's like in the first couple of rows. So I need to move on with some of those rows. The only other thing I've been doing is working on some tutorials and some Tarnation stitches. I haven't had a lot of those filmed lately, and so I'm doing that, and also filming for the daily Bible reading, those kind of things. And all of that just takes time that doesn't allow me to sit and create like I would like to. Trust me, I would like to create a lot. But those kind of things hamper me a little bit. But I know it'll all get sorted out in the end, and I'll get those things done. I do have I did a little bit of reorganization with some of my totes for Operation Christmas Child to get them a little more organized and put in a place where they're easy to find. Before I had them in 2 or 3 different places, and that doesn't always work well, so I'm changing those up, those kind of things. And in between that, trying to clean the house, keep it nice and clean for prospective buyers. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And these cats are something else, I tell you, man. The Ronan lately has been fairly bored, so I've had to do a lot of time spending with him to keep him occupied, to keep his mind going and playing and fetching with him, and the laser light, that keeps him going for a little bit. Otherwise, he starts getting into trouble. He starts hose nosing, and that doesn't end well ever. The only other thing I've been doing is all those t-shirts that I cut for the t-shirt yarn. I'm cutting off the sleeves so that I can turn them into drawstring bags for marbles or different things that people want to put into drawstring bags. So that's the only other thing that I'm doing right now. Basically, it's a whole lot of cutting. So yeah. Well, that was quick, wasn't it? The only other thing I'm going to tell you is I have opened up another sale in the shop, and that'll go through mid-December. It will not include the new bags, although the newer bags I'll probably have a lower price for those than normal, just as a way to get them moving, that kind of thing. But they're all going to be Christmas fabrics, most likely. There will be some that are just plain flowers and some other, different pretty prints that I have. So, yeah. But anyway, let's get to what in Tarnation. It's going to be a short one today. Okay, world's largest iced latte served in an 11-foot-high cup. Social media star Nick DiGiovanni teamed up with Dunkin' to break the Guinness World Record for the largest iced latte. DiGiovanni, a chef and social media influencer with multiple Guinness World Record titles, filled an 11-foot-high Dunkin' cup with ice, milk, and espresso to take on the record. Guinness World Record confirmed the resulting 276-gallon beverage was the world's largest iced latte. The massive latte was then portioned out into smaller cups and served to more than 300 employees at Dunkin's corporate office in Massachusetts. Well, why don't you divide that up and give it out to some homeless people or just regular people on the street? Okay, whatever. Officer crawls 50 yards through pipe to rescue a kitten in Florida. And there's video. Animal welfare officers in Florida came to the rescue of a kitten heard crying from inside a drainage pipe. Escambia County Animal Welfare said an employee with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office heard the kitten's calls coming from inside a drainage pipe near the Escambia Regional Juvenile Detention Center. Lead Animal Welfare Officer Sergeant Meredith Robertson responded to the location and initially tried to use videos of a mother cat to lure the feline closer to the opening. I played mama cat noises again, then I saw his beady little eyes way at the end of the tunnel, she said. The kitten declined to come any closer, so Robinson donned a headlamp, climbed into the drain. She said she had to crawl about 50 yards to reach the kitten. I was a little scared crawling down there, she said. I'm just super thankful that I've had the opportunity to do things like this and that I've received training to do my job the best that I can. The kitten, now named Pipes, was taken to a veterinarian for a checkup and will soon be available for adoption at the Escambia County Animal Shelter. Well, isn't that sweet? Now, when I read this next headline, my first thought was, really, you need to tell people this? This should be common sense. Apparently it's not. Don't brine your turkey in the Great Salt Lake. Officials at the Great Salt Lake State Park and Marina in Utah are reminding locals not to brine their Thanksgiving turkeys in the Great Salt Lake after someone's bird washed up on the beach. The park said on social media that a turkey, still bearing a faded label from the store, washed up on Silver Sands Beach. Officials said the discovery was a teaching moment. Just your annual reminder not to use Great Salt Lake to brine your turkey, the boat said. Not only is the salinity too high for a proper brine, the waves can be very strong and there's a good chance you could lose the entire turkey, as this person did. It ended up washed up on the Silver Sands Beach and someone went turkeyless. USFWS equipment found covered in living blob of jelly. That just sounds gross. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Midwest Fisheries Center shared photos of a telemetry receiver found covered in a living blob of jelly. The center said on social media that researchers hauled the receiver up to the surface and were surprised to see it covered in a blob of jelly comprised of thousands of animals. Pectinatella magnifica, also known as the magnificent bryozoan, what a name, forms large colonies sometimes bigger than a basketball. An individual creature called a zooid is smaller than a sesame seed and resembles a tiny horseshoe with tentacles, researchers wrote. These zooids live together in dense jelly-like masses where they feed and reproduce. The center conceded the animals might look strange and maybe even a little gross, but they are a natural part of the underwater ecosystem and pose no danger to people. The blob will die and decompose over winter, but its offspring will float away and form new colonies elsewhere next summer. Researchers said it was the first time that a telemetry receiver had been found covered in such a colony. Although the devices have previously played host to animals including insects, snails, mussels, crayfish, and even the occasional mad tom. I don't know what a mad tom is. Be interesting. Swimming raccoons rescued from Rhode Island drain. Rhode Island Department of Transportation workers cleaning out catch basins made a startling discovery. Two trapped raccoons treading water in a rapidly filling drain. The Westerly Animal Shelter said on social media that RIDOT crews checking on catch basins discovered two raccoons stranded in one of the drains as it was filling with rainwater. The raccoons were swimming to stay alive. They fell in and couldn't get out. The animal shelter shared video of animal control officers fishing the raccoons out of their predicament. Post said officers were happy to help these critters go back home. Now this next video is awful cute, and I'm sure that they wondered who the thief was, but finding out who the thief was probably as big a surprise as that the fact that shoes went missing. Serial shoe thief at kindergarten identified as a weasel. Police set up security cameras at a Japanese school after students' shoes started disappearing, and the culprit was ultimately identified as a furry footwear fan, a weasel. The Gosha Kodomo in kindergarten in Koga, oh boy, Fukuoka Prefecture, contacted police for help after 15 shoes vanished from the school in early November, and 3 more were taken the following day. Police set up 3 security cameras in the school to catch the culprit in the act. A single shoe vanished during the night of November the 11th, and police reviewed the captured footage to identify the perpetrator. The video shows a weasel appearing from behind a wall and raiding the cubbyholes where the children store their indoor shoes. The animal spread shoes across the floor and made off with one item of footwear. We were very worried, but we were relieved now that we know it was an animal. A school employee told the Mainichi Shimbun. Japanese is not my language. Sorry, folks. Animal experts said the weasel had likely given birth recently and was using the shoes to line its nest. The school said the cubbyholes are now being covered with netting at night to keep the furry thieves at bay. And now I'm sorry, but that is awful cute that they felt the need to do that. So that is it for What in Tarnation. We are ready to move on to a new devotional. And this new devotional is a 90-day devotional. With God, I always have hope. And I did pick this up at Ollie's. It is something checkmark chosen, a division of the Baker Publishing Group. I'll read the back to you. The Lord alone is our radiant hope, and we trust in Him with all our hearts. Psalm 33:20. Jesus' final address to His disciples includes a glorious promise to us today. I am with you always. Hope in the present work of Jesus Christ inspires endurance and produces strength for whatever comes our way. The book of 92-minute devotions provides an opportunity to draw near to God and overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Each day includes a question for reflection, powerful prayer, declaration of truth, and a practical action step of faith. When God is present, there is hope. Being with God fills us with joyful expectation, and we have everything we need. Today, set your hope on the grace of God and His presence in your life. All right, let's get started. God's good plans. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11, and that is one of my favorite verses. So what does a hopeful future mean to you? If you were to write a short story about your ideal life, drafting it to be full of purpose, prosperity, and joy, what would be in that story? Sometimes God's plans for our lives do not feel good in the moment. Sometimes it feels like our stories have been hijacked and we are leaning more toward disaster than prosperity. The verse from Jeremiah is frequently quoted to encourage believers that God has hopeful plans for our lives. But we often miss the context of the passage. God was speaking to His people as they were in captivity. The true hope of this passage is that the promises of God are solid in spite of the hardships. A difficult present does not indicate a hopeless future. With God, our difficult present is primed to be transformed into the rich future He has orchestrated for us. God knows exactly where your story is going because He wrote it Himself. Every detail is secured and fashioned with you in mind. Even in the midst of difficulties, you can rest, knowing His plans for you are still good and still in motion. Reflect. What do I feel when I hear God has plans to give me a good future? And I think that if you keep a prayer journal or even a journal of gratitude, some of these questions might be good to put into those journals. And here's the prayer. Father, I believe you when you say that you have counted every one of my days. I have hope for my future because you have already gone before me. You have planned my life with care and purpose. Help me to rest in security and trust that your plans for me are good. Amen. Declare, God's plans for me are full of hope. Boy, aren't they. Act. Share with someone a dream for the future that God has planted in your heart. I hope you will enjoy this devotional. I chose it because it had so many actions in it for us to do each week. Now this is, supposed to be a daily. We're going to do it on a weekly basis. But I hope that you will act on it and that you will include those practices in your day. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you are getting along in your projects and getting things done like you would hope that they would be done. But in the meantime, let's be kind to one another. Let's treat each other like we love one another. After all, that is one of the greatest commandments God has given us. I will see you again soon. Bye.